In our modern culture, atheistic naturalism is the basis of public education and court decisions. Our public educational system teaches fraudulently that naturalism, that's the exclusion of any supernaturalism, including God, is scientific truth. It's fundamental, as we said, to naturalism that there is no scientific proofs of the supernatural. Academia indoctrinates its students with this mantra: naturalism is science, supernaturalism is religion. There's no such thing as supernatural science. That's the mantra that they've indoctrinated. In turn, the products of this educational system, public education, such as law students, lawyers, judges, then legally protect this indoctrination process with the judicial system. Judges and their courts forbid the teaching of any supernaturalism, creationism, or religion under the guise of separation of church and state. Naturalism, the exclusion of supernaturalism, is in reality atheism. And the mandating of it is the establishment of atheism by the Supreme Court as the state religion, contrary to true science and the Constitution of the United States. Let's look at the impacts of this naturalism indoctrination. Let's hit education first. In the 1950s and 60s, the United States was number one in the world in overall educational ratings. Today, the U.S. is 26th in overall educational ratings and is 48th in math and science, according to the World Economic Forum. At the same time, the cost of U.S. education has dramatically increased and is presently the highest per student of any nation on the earth, with a dramatic decrease in educational quality. Very large percentages of local, state, federal budgets are dedicated to education in the United States. Because of naturalism's beliefs and the political influence of the NEA, that's the teachers' union, and various academies of science, the national policies and economic clout of the U.S. Department of Education have turned our public school system into indoctrination centers for naturalism and atheism, to the neglect of classical education of reading, writing, and math. Let's look at the impact in politics, morality, and economy. In the last 50 years, the U.S. Congress, numerous U.S. presidents, you don't have to be partisan, and the majority of the Supreme Court have systematically promoted naturalism, its system of Darwinian egalitarianism, and its economic statism. Statism is the domination of the state in economics. What's been the result of this? The results have been a moral and spiritual and economic bankruptcy of what was once the most stable government and nation in the history of mankind. Abortion, sexual perversion, institutionalization of poverty, destruction of education, and irresponsible deficit governmental spending have been historical landmarks of naturalism. Now they are the laws of the United States government. The same could be said of most of the nations of the earth, such as Russia, Japan, China, but especially of the Western nations. What's the impact in the churches of this naturalism indoctrination? In the past, often youth going through their educational years have left the church, but frequently return to the church when they've established marriages, had children, and have careers. However, recent surveys show that now the youth seldom return to the churches. For instance, a survey conducted by the Southern Baptists revealed that over 80% of their kids leave the faith and never return. It's attributed in several studies, polling and things, that it is attributed to the loss of their confidence in the truth of the Bible, which was destroyed in their educational years. Public school systems with mandated evolutionary naturalism, and universities with their stifling naturalistic, atheistic faculties destroy forever the truths of the scriptures in these young lives. Let's look at the rationale of naturalism. Naturalists with their mantra of scientific materialism, or veiled, really, atheism, believe that the universe has risen out of nothing, has become ordered out of chaos over billions of years. Likewise, life has evolved by time and chance mutations and natural selection, that's a polite term for survival of the fittest, over hundreds of millions of years. In their reasoning, no God would have created such a cruel and unjust world as we have, with the brutality of claw and tooth survival in nature and in mankind. Therefore, they feel that it is their mandate to give order to the world and to society, overcoming social, biological, legal, and political ills. God didn't do it, so we're going to do it, is their thinking. If there was a God, he wouldn't have left the system like this. Their plan is to use governments, ultimately one world government, to eliminate conflicts caused by individual and national interests, to achieve this naturalistic utopia. Let's look at the methodology of naturalism. First, in order to establish their naturalism mandates, the naturalists first take control of the educational system and then the government. That includes the legislative, executive, and judicial. The naturalists want complete control of the minds of all humans. This takeover of their government and education can be peaceful, gradual, or violent. The most traditional and successful method of naturalists has been violent, using the crises of governments. Take the French Revolution, Russian Revolution, Chinese Revolution, Cuban Revolution. There's lots of them, which they created the problems to bring the previous government down. Alternatively, the naturalists will use democratic elections, often rigged, to gain control of the government. Second, once in control, the naturalists will eliminate any opposition, both politically and educationally, to their naturalistic point of view. Creationists, and that includes Christians, Jews, Muslims, are the primary targets for elimination. What's their ultimate goal? The ultimate goal of naturalism is world domination and total thought control. Past experience has shown that world domination and total thought control is the goal of naturalists in order to establish their atheistic, naturalistic utopia. By the way, utopia in Greek means no place, and so far they've been very successful. Robespierre, Lenin, Stalin, Hitler, Mao Zedong, Castro, Chavez all give historical proof of the goals of these atheistic naturalists. As Mike pointed out, in the wake of the last century, these people killed over 200 million people, largely their own citizens. That's their proof of where they're going. If you don't agree with the system, you're dead. They justify, they sought in the past, these people, these atheistic naturalists, and their contemporaries still seek to impose intellectually their utopian naturalism on the world. They justify the pursuit of the world utopia of naturalism and atheism from science. I had some friends that were in Russia, and I asked them, I understood that they had these indoctrination sessions. They have a commissar. It didn't make any difference if you're working in a factory or in the military or wherever. And they'd come in and you had indoctrination sessions. And I said, you must have gotten a boatload of that Marxism and economic theory. And they said, no. It was all about Darwin. I said, you're kidding me. He said, no, that's the basis of their scientific materialism. There's no philosophical basis for naturalism. There's no such thing as natural law. You build upon this deal of Darwinism and the Big Bang deal. I said, you're kidding me. And they said, no, that was the case.